I separate this horizon line, which is here. I prefer to have less space for sky, more space for landscape. So I divide it into, not in a half, it's less space on the sky part. And then apply, adding paint on top. With heavy paint, flatly cover it. But we don't want to let it dry completely because we need to take a little feeling of purple and brown or grayish color on top. It's not just a blue color. So please not let it dry. Move on into the purple, take some, and we need to bring a little line here, and which is this line on the stance. And the reason I would like to go in a wet surface because they fade easily together, and show that this is on the stance and disappear so easily fade together, and there is no edges creating that way. And even on the right side, we can move on into the grayish color that we have, and a little bit add some stroke with this grayish color because it's a little feeling of darkness I see here. It's more easy to take heavy paint because heavy paint not easily get dry, and then switch to the pure white color for the top part and give you chance to be relaxed because it's still wet, and we can easily take another paint and mix with it. I move on with the blue, with the light blue and the white color just for now, and then later I will add a little purple as the shape of tree. And then we will see on this stance a little bit of feeling of trees on the here. So clean the brush. Purple can make those shape. Curvy shape, make some tree like that. The reason I'm interested to go with the heavy paint is still wet, and it gives my purple fade into the blue. But if it start to get dry, it's fine. You can bring some white and blue, mix with it, and let it disappear together like that. Just as a curve shape, circly, very gently make some shape of tree. I didn't make any trunk tree for now, just this part would be enough. If it start to get dry, bring some white and blue on top and let them mix together. but make sure not to have any edges because it should show that it's on distance. Anytime you feel that the edges create and your paint is so liney with the separation lined with each other, you need to add white and blue and make them wet. So when they wet, very gently they can mix together. But the only time it's not good to bring lots of paint on top is the time that when it's sticky. When it's start to get dry, it's sticky. So it's a bad time to bring another paint on top. Let it completely dry and then apply for the new paint. I'm going to add this darker blue to be visible. This is a start from here. Just move on there. Draw the part of the grass and make it separate from the river, and then it's more easy to follow and cover the river. Let's continue here and then move on here, this part. So this is the grass part. Even it's moved up a little bit. On the other side, it's so tiny bit, it's moved here and then finish there. So the rest is the river. So we apply with the light blue on the horizon line. Light value on the stance, and when we move on front, it's a little bit get darker. On horizon, I really try to make the line clear and straight. Then move on, bring the light tone on the bottom part. But both sides has a little purple because of the reflection. So at the same time, you can bring some feeling of purple. And let it mix with the blue because the blue is wet. So it's a good time to have purple for the shadow and reflection here. And let both mix together. Bring it purple to the blue. Clean with napkin. Again, you can back and bring the blue into the purple. Both are fine. Now both purple and blue is fade together. Just a little bit pure light blue. I would like to bring it here on top. Because of reflection, playing with the light and dark tone, it's more interesting to have not just with one color. And move on with darker blue a little bit here. Even it's wet, we can have grayish color and this edges. Then bring it a little touch inside. Even the other side, we can have this grayish color here. A little bit here too. white color with palette knife and bring it on top and let it sit a little heavy. With this one, I take with one side of palette knife, like that, and just a little bit, bring it on the stance, just a pure white color, and let it move, go and back, and make some texture. It makes a little wave on top of the river and bring a texture. Even here we can add pure white color. I move on very gently with very less pressure. I don't want to lift up the paint. Brown with purple. Brown with purple and white color. It's something close to brown color, but should be light, because showing that it's on further. And I go with pointy brush to shape them. Just start for here. It's better to be narrow because it's on the stance. I start with this one. Randomly add some trunk tree and branches around. Even it doesn't need to be all straight. You can make them with an angle. Tip of round and pointy brush. It's so lovely for this narrow line. I see that it's a little busy, so draw some line in between to make it busy a little bit. Would be enough for here. Then we can move on the other side. For trunk trees, when you are close to the ground and grass, it's a little thicker, and when you are up near close to the leaves, it's more narrow. And we can move on for reflection on them as well. Just a bit drop of water we need to take. Make our brush a little watery this time. And if your river is dry, we can apply exactly on. We can continue from here. I see this tree. Continue here should be somewhere like that, and then follow the same, just zigzaggy shape to show the reflection of this one. And I already have the brown for making my green a little darker. Even blue can come and helpful for darkness. There is a lots of option. If you have anything on your palette, you don't have to add the new color. So if I don't have any brown, I add my black color to mix with the green and make it darker. So I have already brown. I don't want to waste that. So add a little bit brown and blue to make my green dark. They can affect look like black. Let me show you. When you mix blue with brown, the darkness is so close to black. And when you take a little green into that, it's getting the green dark. Not too much dark, but it's darker than the value we have here. So I take more to premix. And this is the dark green color, and this is the mid-tone. I need still the light tone for the stance. So I just go to mix my green with the white color. I'm not using yellow this time because yellow makes the green toward what I see, toward warm color, and we need cool color this time. So just white would be enough to add and make your green cool color and light. And then with palette knife, we start to add on this part and this part. So if we want to move on, the light tone should be on top, mid-tone on here, and the dark tone for the edges on river. We will need it. And then I move on with this palette knife, or I can go with this one. Both are okay. Any shape you have would be great. So don't worry about the shape of palette knife. We need to hold this back of our palette knife. So we start with light tone, take some with one side of palette knife, but it's cover most of the part. And then very gently put your palette knife here, bring it a little bit on the side, and then move it to let this paint sit on your surface. And it's not always all the paint sit on the surface. It happens like that. Then you can back with the whole back of palette knife, play with the paint that you have. A little bit pressure would be okay. Make it curve shape a little bit to cover the white of canvas. For some canvas, even it's challenging to cover this white of the canvas. So you can a little bit play with the paint and even tip off your palette knife to let it cover it. We are not using any texture for this stance. Because of that, it's okay to repeat, go on back, and let it sit on top. Even I feel a little lightness I need to bring. I'm adding a white color, just a pure white, and let it move on top of my green. Try to add some palette knife stroke with the pure white color on top of the green. And you see very nice and lovely light tone I can make. Okay, and let it dry. We move on front a little more with this light tone still. When you bring the light tone, make sure not to lose the shape of this side of the river. You need to control it should be like triangle, like that. Not lose that one. Even bring a little with the tip. Then lay down your palette knife. We need always to work with whole shape of palette knife, both side and even the tip. with the tip of palette knife heavily. And we would like to add, I know that the green is a little wet, but very less pressure. Please add in your hand. Gently try to set this orange on your top of green color and not let it mix together. When you bring it heavy and very gently touch the surface, they don't mix together and you already make the texture. Just spread some orange and mix with this one, even reddish brown. Bring some reddish brown and add on top of the green. Draw the trunk trees. We can go by palette knife or brush. I'm going with the brush, but already make heavy texture, even with the brush. It comes toward up, and even if I make a mistake, add a lots of heavy part, it's okay because we can cover it by leaves after we add the shape of leaves. And then it's divided into another section. Make sure when it's connected to the trunk trees, get a little heavier. When we move on toward up, it's a little narrow. I add some branches and try to shape this a little bit longer. And the broken line, not exactly straight, because please not pressure all your palette knife into the surface. Bring your hand up. Just the tip should be sit on your surface. And randomly, very gently, add some paint on top. And please keep some part a little bit heavy. We don't need to cover everything flatly. It's okay to keep it heavy. And less pressure. Take your hand up because we don't want to have heavy orangey on top. We would like to less pressure and make a little bit randomly some leaves. Some part it's just a quick touch, some more heavy. Continue with the orange tone. Very gently touch it. And I just play with the tip. Take my hand up and randomly help these colors set as the leaves. Even I would like to have this mid-tone or light tone of green a little bit, maybe mid-tone here in between. Adding some feeling of green would be nice to have. But have always clean your palette knife. Have a napkin or rag beside yourself and always clean it. I think about adding a little bit red as well. I'm happy with this part, so I am not make it busy more. I think about center. Just a pure red color. It's interesting, yeah. I'm happy to have red as well beside orange and make them mix into each other. Even the brown as well here is nice too. Sometimes I recommend that let it dry, and after that, after it get everything dry, you can check, and if you're happy with it, so leave it like that. If not, you can again work on top and bring more texture